The morning sun filtered through the train windows as Margaret Collins settled into her usual spot by the door. At 62, she'd been taking this same commute for nearly 30 years, watching the city wake up through scratched glass and familiar stops. She adjusted her reading glasses and opened her book, though she rarely got far before her mind wandered. These days, she found herself thinking about her late husband, Tom, more often. He'd been gone 3 years now, and the quiet mornings on the train reminded her of the simple kindness he'd shown everyone he met. The train lurched forward, and Margaret glanced up as new passengers boarded at the next stop. A young man stepped through the doors, holding a small boy against his chest. The child couldn't have been more than 3, with tousled brown hair and eyes still heavy with sleep. The father's face showed the particular exhaustion Margaret recognized, the kind that comes from loving someone more than yourself. He was maybe 35, dark-haired, wearing a gray shirt that had seen better mornings. His arms cradled the boy protectively as he scanned the crowded car for a place to stand. The child's head rested on his shoulder, tiny fingers clutching a worn teddy bear. Margaret closed her book without hesitation. "Please," she said, standing up and gesturing to her seat. "Take this one." The man's eyes met hers, deep brown, tired but kind. "Oh, I couldn't ask you to—" "You didn't ask," Margaret said with a gentle smile. "I'm offering. That little one needs you to sit down more than I need to." For a moment, the man seemed overwhelmed. His throat worked as he swallowed, and Margaret saw something flicker across his face, relief mixed with something deeper. Gratitude, perhaps, or maybe just the acknowledgement that someone had noticed him struggling. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Really, thank you." He settled into the seat carefully, adjusting the sleeping boy in his arms. Margaret held onto the nearby pole, watching as the child nuzzled deeper into his father's chest, completely trusting, completely safe. "He's beautiful," Margaret said. "His name is Charlie," the man replied, his voice soft with affection. "I'm Ryan Parker." "Margaret Collins. It's nice to meet you both." They rode in comfortable silence for a few stops. Margaret noticed the way Ryan's hand never stopped moving gently across his son's back, that automatic comfort parents give without thinking. It reminded her of watching Tom with their daughter Sarah years ago. "Long night?" Margaret asked kindly. Ryan gave a tired smile. "You could say that. Charlie had a fever yesterday. We were up most of the night. I have an important meeting this morning and my usual sitter couldn't make it, so—" He trailed off, looking down at his son. "Some days you just do what you have to do." Margaret nodded, understanding flooding through her. "I raised my daughter mostly on my own after her father passed. Different circumstances, but I remember those mornings. The world doesn't stop turning just because you're exhausted." "No," Ryan agreed quietly. "It doesn't." The train swayed around a curve, and Margaret caught herself against the pole. Ryan noticed immediately. "Please," he said, starting to shift. "You should sit." "I can stand with him." "Nonsense," Margaret said firmly. "I'm perfectly capable of standing. Besides, I'm getting off at the next stop." It was a small lie. She had 3 more stops to go. But something in her heart told her this young father needed that seat more than she needed the truth. As the train pulled into her supposed stop, Margaret gathered her things. Before she stepped off, she paused. "You're doing a good job," she said to Ryan. "I can tell just by looking at him. That boy knows he's loved." Ryan's eyes glistened slightly. "Thank you for saying that, and thank you for the seat. You have no idea how much it meant." Margaret simply smiled and stepped onto the platform. She waited for the next train, 20 minutes late to work, and didn't mind at all. The following Monday, Margaret saw them again. This time, Charlie was awake, curious eyes taking in everything around him. When Margaret boarded, the boy pointed at her. "Seat, lady," he announced. Ryan laughed, embarrassed but warm. "Charlie's been talking about the nice lady who gave up her seat all week." "Well, hello again," Margaret said, delighted. This time, there were 2 empty seats, and Ryan gestured for her to sit beside them. As the train rolled forward, Charlie chattered away about his toys, his daycare, and his stuffed bear named Mr. Buttons. Margaret listened with genuine interest. asking questions and marveling at his 3-year-old logic. "He doesn't usually warm up to strangers this quickly," Ryan said, watching his son with gentle amazement. "Maybe I remind him of someone," Margaret suggested. "Maybe," Ryan said thoughtfully, "or maybe he just recognizes kindness when he sees it." Over the following weeks, their morning encounters became routine. Margaret learned that Ryan was the CEO of a mid-sized tech company, that he'd lost his wife to cancer when Charlie was just 6 months old, and that every day was a balancing act between being a good father and running a business. "Some people think I should hire a nanny," Ryan confided one morning, "but Charlie's already lost his mother. I don't want him to feel like he's losing me too." Margaret's heart ached with recognition. "Tom used to say that time is the only gift you can never buy back. You're giving your son something precious." In return, Margaret shared stories about Sarah, now living across the country with her own family. She talked about Tom, about the bookshop they'd run together, about the loneliness that sometimes crept in during quiet evenings. "You should come to dinner," Ryan said one Friday morning. "Charlie would love it. And honestly, so would I. It's nice to talk to someone who understands." Margaret hesitated, not wanting to impose, but Charlie grabbed her hand with his small, sticky fingers and said, "Please come, Miss Margaret. Daddy makes good spaghetti." So she went. Ryan's apartment was modest but warm, filled with toys and family photos. Charlie showed her every truck, every book, every treasure in his small kingdom. They ate spaghetti with too much sauce and laughed when Charlie got it in his hair. After dinner, while Charlie played, Ryan and Margaret sat with coffee. "I want to ask you something," Ryan said carefully, "and please feel free to say no. But my company is launching a literacy program for underprivileged children. We need someone with experience and heart to help run it. Someone who understands that success isn't just about numbers, it's about people." Margaret's breath caught. She'd retired from teaching 5 years ago and had been searching for purpose ever since. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you gave up your seat to a stranger," Ryan said simply. "Because you were 20 minutes late to work and didn't complain. Because my son lights up when he sees you. Because in a world where everyone's rushing past each other, you stopped and saw us." Margaret felt tears prick her eyes. "I'd be honored." The job became more than work. It became healing. Margaret threw herself into the literacy program, watching children discover the magic of stories, just as she'd once done in her own classroom. She had dinner with Ryan and Charlie every week, becoming a grandmother figure to the little boy who'd once been a stranger. One evening, nearly a year after that first train ride, Margaret tucked Charlie into bed while Ryan cleaned up the kitchen. The boy looked up at her sleepily. "Miss Margaret, I love you," he said simply. Margaret's heart, which she'd thought might never feel completely full again, swelled with unexpected joy. "I love you too, sweetheart." Later, as Ryan walked her to the door, he took her hand gently. "I don't think it was an accident that we met," he said. "Charlie needed a grandmother. I needed a friend. And I think maybe you needed us too." Margaret nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "Thank you," Ryan continued, "for seeing us that morning, for being kind when you didn't have to be. You changed our lives." "You changed mine too." The train swayed gently through the darkness, carrying Margaret toward home, toward tomorrow, toward all the mornings yet to come when she'd see a little boy and his father waiting at the platform. Family now in all the ways that mattered. Some things, she realized, were worth being late for. Some people were worth standing for. And sometimes the greatest gifts came wrapped in the simplest moments: a tired father, a sleeping child, and a single empty seat offered freely on an ordinary morning train.